On your Wednesday episode of Locked On Raptors, we're feeling about as good as you possibly can about a team dropping 14 straight games.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Wednesday, April the 3rd, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 10 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on the horrible website at Woodley Sean. You can find the show on Instagram at Locked On Raptors. And of course, you can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server, the single best and least toxic place to talk about the Toronto Raptors. It's a great time. Come hang out. We've got, of course, Raptors game talk, some decent feelings coming out of last night's game with the returns of IQ and RJ, talking about food, talking movies, talking Dune 2, which is just beyond movie. It's art. But either way, come join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. It's free to join. As always, come be part of our listener family. Of course, you can find the show for free by following, subscribing, rating, reviewing on your favorite podcast app of choice for the audio feed. Plus, you can go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel, hit the little notification bell, and get a heads up every single time the show is about to premiere or go live, which you don't want to miss. It's a lovely thing to get that sweet, sweet Locked On Raptors action right into your veins as it's fresh off the presses. All right, let's get to it. On today's show, talking about a 128-111 Toronto Raptors loss, their 14th consecutive L to the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron James, Anthony Davis in town, doing LeBron James and Anthony Davis things. Immanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett returned. That was very fun, very nice to see. And our guest today was in the house last night, and we're going to talk a little about how the vibes of the team are seemingly a lot better than you'd expect for a 14 straight loss team. That was the right way to say that, right? I don't know. Either way, we got good, bad, coming up as well. Let's bring in that wonderful guest. It is Katie Heindl from Dime, from Basketball Feelings. Katie, how the hell are you?
I'm good, man. Did you just see Dune 2? Is that why you're talking about it?
No. I can just talk
Still
about it all
talking about
day,
it.
every
Okay,
day,
got it.
nonstop.
Got
Yeah,
it.
it's the best.
It's a great film. It's a great film.
Oh, Denny, he did it again. He just did it again, didn't he? We'll save off-season Dune talk for when things die down.
I was trying to think. I was like, is there like comparison I could draw about last night's game to Dune 2? But there isn't.
There's just not. No, I mean, the sort of crushing, I guess like there is as much water on Arrakis as there are wins in the Raptors win column of late. So I guess there's like
There you
that.
go. That's
Other
good.
than that, yeah, pretty thin. But yeah, let's get to it, Katie. Let's start with the nice news. RJ Barrett, Immanuel Quickley return, and both look pretty bloody awesome while doing it. RJ comes in 28.6 boards, 6 assists, 11 of 18, basically exactly what we've seen from RJ Barrett his entire time as a Toronto Raptor. Immanuel Quickley comes in 20 points, 3 boards, 6 assists, 27 minutes played for him, 7 of 12, 3 of 7 from deep. Picking up right where they left off. And Katie, my sort of prevailing takeaway from this game watching these guys was, oh my God, starting caliber NBA players are really, really good, aren't they?
I mean, it was great to see them back. I was really heartened to see when RJ checked in. He got a nice ovation, even though I would say the crowd last night was 80% Lakers fans. The wrong
it looked
kind
like
of
it on
gold.
TV too.
It's funny because it's like, okay, we did our gold uniforms, and then it's like that's the wrong shade of gold everywhere in the arena. It's different. But yeah, he looked really happy. I think the team was really thrilled to have him back. He also looked fantastic on the floor. The only times I was like, this is attainable, this is within reach, was when RJ Barrett. Sorry,
RJ
as
Barry.
I told you, I haven't had a coffee.
It's a cereal
yet.
mascot.
I was out a little late. RJ Barrett and Immanuel Quickley were on the floor.
Yeah, those two guys were, it just gives them such a floor to hit. And just the drop off when one or two of them went to the bench was pretty severe, right? Like the game starts off pretty well. Quickley's, doing his jitterbug thing, flying around. Barrett's finishing on cuts. Lots of really nice, beautiful cutting with that starting five. The Olynyk Brown, Barrett, Quickley, Gradey Dick lineup. Like, hey, That's a lineup. That's a group of guys who can get some stuff done, at least on offense. Maybe not so much in the defensive end, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later on in the show. But yeah, like when those guys were out there, they looked like a competent NBA team that could, hang around and have a puncher's chance of winning. They didn't win this game, but I still maintain that Quickley and Barrett, if they're playing over the last 7 games here, they're not going to close the season on a 21-game losing streak. They're going to beat the Wizards. They're going to beat the Nets. They're going to catch a team off guard. And the sort of juice you get from Quickley and Barrett coming in, enlivening the offense, adding that vertical spacing that we know Quickley has done so beautifully since arriving with the Raptors, just kind of stretching things out to the logo where teams got to pick him up and worry about him. It opens up so much on the back end for all the cutting action they have, especially with Olynyk running at the elbows. There's a recipe here. If those guys can have like just a couple of really hot nights to win a couple of games here and make it so we're not being sent off into the offseason 21-game losing streak to ruminate over. How big a deal is that for you, Katie? I like have just been sort of dreading the idea of going into the offseason on 21-game losing streak. It just feels like a really nasty way to end off a season. Do you care at all about this? I know the wins and losses don't really matter right now, but it feels like it has to matter a little, no?
No, I don't care. And I don't think the team, the sense of the team, of course, they want to win more games, but I also think that's not, how do I put this?
It's not like priority number one.
Yeah, it's weird to be like winning's not number one. Like right now, getting everybody back, getting everybody healthy on the same page, and like development over the summer is probably number one priority. So yeah, it would be a bummer. I don't think they're going to go the rest of the season without a win. I don't think they're on their way there. But no, it doesn't. I don't think it matters. I don't think you should feel too sad about it. And I also don't think it like changes things drastically. This isn't the kind of team where it's like if they finished on like a real downslide and you had your team that was largely intact, it would, bring into question what's going to happen over the summer, with like movement. Like we know there's going to be plenty of movement anyway. There already was going to be. And I don't think a win, like wins or losses, really change that.
I mean, that's entirely fair. I still want to see them win a game or two because that's just like
they do deserve it.
21 in the standings.
Yeah.
Just nasty stuff. That's Pistons crap. You don't want to do Pistons crap going into the offseason. Come on now. Not to, besmirch your beloved Detroit Pistons.
Thank you. We've won some games.
They have won some games, although the Wizards are winning more games. So that pick, baby, 31st overall. It's one of the great races to watch down the stretch of the season. And where will the Toronto Raptors pick in the second round? Back to Quickley and Barrett for a second here. The other sort of prevailing thought I had coming out of this game, watching them back on the floor, is it did sort of reinvigorate my optimism for next season. I've always felt pretty good about next year's team being at least competent, at least sort of making steps forward in their progression. Not to say that I think they're going to go be a top 6 team in the East or anything like that, but I keep on using like better than the Bulls as the bar to clear. And I feel like with Quickley and Barrett, like there's a real shot at this team being like an above average offense next season, of them having enough talent over the course of 48 minutes when you're staggering in Quickley, Barrett, Scotty Barnes, Pirtle, Olynyk, Dick. Like there's just going to be enough here, I think, to be a pretty decent squad next season. And, that's been hard to envision when you're watching Jordan Nwora play 25 minutes a game and take 18 shots. But when that's not happening and you're seeing the actual guys who are going to be part of this team take part, it is a little easier to talk yourself into, okay, this has been a grim, really bad season. One of the worst in, certainly the worst in recent Raptors history, I'd argue, and one of the worst of all time, probably. Although, man, like things got real dark way back in the early days. So we'll save that evaluation for the offseason. But where are you at? Seeing those guys play, how do you feel sort of on the optimism scale about what they can do, kind of hitting the ground running next season with those two guys obviously being a big part of their conversation?
I wonder, I mean, the two of them are going to be key and so crucial. And when you've got Scotty Barnes back and Jakob Poeltl, back, like you kind of forget how many rotations this, not just like the whole team has gone through this season, which is so many, but also this current roster. I also, was taking a look at the lineups last night. And I was like, okay, we're really deep into territory of like, who among these guys are we going to even see next season? Like I'll go back to what I said before about do wins and losses matter. I think where they might matter is with some of these two-way guys and G League guys who've been called up, they might have a better, like more of a puncher's chance of sticking around depending on how they play right now. So that is something. But I'm pretty heartened about the team next year. Like I'm heartened about it too because of the way the coaching staff has been able to keep things together when things have grown like this bad in the win-loss column. Like morale is still pretty high. There's also been like a lot that's happened to individuals on the team this year, and I think again that's something they've been able to really just like keep the priority on people's, I would say, like mental health and well-being, but like the people who are playing haven't necessarily lost a step. Like of course injury is going to derail certain development, but I also think like when they're good and things are clicking, you can see Darko's plan sort of coming to fruition.
For sure.
But yeah, like the frustration isn't really as palpable as I would say it even was last season with a completely different team. So that makes me feel pretty good about going into next season. I also think when it's not that the stakes are lowered, but I think when pressure is off a team like this, you see it all around the NBA. It like, I don't know, it takes a load off people's shoulders. It lets them play a little bit more freely. It lets them kind of mess around, which is like Raptors are in prime mess around territory. And I imagine they'll be in that to start next season too. But no, I think like overall more good things than bad going into next year.
Definitely. And I want to pick up that thread of the vibes kind of not matching the current 23-52 record of the team. And a little more get into the sort of Darko of it all, the Garrett Temple of it all. There was a pretty interesting sort of mic'd up clip last night from Darko with Garrett Temple I want to get into. We'll pick up this thread from Katie beginning in the next segment. We'll do that in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, we keep on chugging along here on your Wednesday episode of Locked On Raptors. Katie Heindl from Dime and Basketball Feelings is along. Go subscribe to Basketball Feelings, by the way. It's the best. It's the simply best NBA writing in the whole wide world. And you're a fool if you don't subscribe. Do it. Be a paid subscriber. I am, and I could not I don't like spending my money on anything else other than Basketball Feelings. Everything else is a chore to spend money on. Basketball Feelings is not. Anyway, let's carry on here. Katie, picking up where we left off in that previous segment about the vibes and the sort of tone and tenor around the team seemingly being a lot less heavy and dour than it could be, considering all that's gone on this season. And look, I would say like the front office kind of went out of its way to make the vibes potentially toxic this season with the clouds of uncertainty hanging over the team for the first half of the year, the trading away of dear pals of the best player on the team, the constant sort of, all right, is this guy going now? Is Bruce Brown going to be here? Is he just here for a stopover? Is he trying? What's going on? The constant cycling in and out of guys. It's been a weird season for the Raptors. But as you noted to me and just kind of our chatting about you being in the building last night, as we talked about just a couple minutes ago, it does not seem as though the team is wearing the struggles of this season the way a lot of teams could. And frankly, like last year's team, a 41-41 perfectly passable team, really seemed to wear it vibes wise. That was a miserable team to watch. They seemed like they hated just the mere existence of coming to work every day. That seems to have drastically changed this season. Obviously, it seems like Darko Rajakovic and the coaching staff have a really big part to play in this. I want to get to Garrett Temple as well coming up in a sec, but just to sort of expand upon what you were getting into in the first segment there, like, it is something of a miracle that Darko and his coaching staff have kept this ship as tight and happy as it seems to be, considering all that's gone on, no?
It feels like it, but I would say less than a miracle, more the practicality of understanding like the coach that they hired at the beginning of the season. I mean, I'm sure the front office knew they were going to be putting him through the ringer a little bit in the sense of all the movement that could have happened and was on the table.
Right.
They certainly didn't warn him, or could he even be warned about all the movement that did result, now here we are at the end of the season. I don't know at last count what it was. I think the last time I counted it was like 28 different guys on the team, but I think that's
it's
more
up to
now.
29, but
Yeah.
let me see, because that is a really fascinating number to keep tabs of. Carry on while I look this up.
But like, that's a lot of people to manage, and that's a lot of people. I would say manage is even the wrong word, because I do think the way Darko Rajakovic and his staff have done it is they really are they're caring for these people, so they've kind of had to come in not just as like head coach and assistant coaches. They've had to come in as a little bit of like crisis managers. They've really like closed the ranks around people when they've needed it, when they've gone through real crises and tragedies, on the roster. And I think that is something that I'm not sure how well even more tenured coaches, either of Raptors past or around the league at large, would necessarily have handled that. I think they may have. I think Darko's approach is to be so open to his team and to like show them that they really are his priority, and he protects them too. You can hear that in the pressers of what he says and doesn't say, and what he's up front and says, like, I'm not going to discuss that with you, but it isn't never in a curt and short way. There's always an explanation as to why. Sure. So I think that kind of relationship management has been crucial this season, and that's something that a lot of head coaches are not necessarily good at. Like it maybe is a step below them, quote, right? Like, especially when you get to be a head coach in the NBA for as many years as some of these guys have been. So I think I think they've shown that they picked the right person in that sense. The way that he's been able to coach the team when they have been intact, as we talked about earlier, has shown like real flashes of like, okay, I understand what he's trying to do here. Doesn't always have the personnel. And I think that's been like, those have maybe been the more growing pain parts, where it's like, you've got to play and make plans for the roster that you have. That's where I think some adjustments have maybe been slower and frustrating for people to watch, but like those have also come. And I think just generally being around the team last season compared to this season, things were much more bleak and tense feeling last season. And like, they weren't losing this much. They were certainly losing. And I think there's a lot of frustration as to why, when you look at who was on that team, right? And the collective experience of those guys. But this one, it's like, yeah, when you're young, you are free to make more mistakes in the league, but that also is dependent on your coaching staff. And again, to go back to what we were talking about, if they want to let you play free, if they want to kind of put you in charge and give you autonomy to make those mistakes, which is really important for young players. I mean, yeah, last night I was sitting with Willu, and when they showed like the tunnel huddle before the guys came out, we were just like, this is just like a collection of guys. Like, who are these guys? Do they know each other? Like, we were joking. Of course they do. But like, that's really, I mean, that's the state of the roster now, due to a lot of extenuating circumstances. But, generally I'm kind of surprised. Like, that's why when you said, am I worried if they go out this season on like, just continue to lose every single game until the season's over? Not really, because it doesn't feel as dire as things did last season.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. A research update, Katie. 29 players have played for the Raptors this season. I'm going to do a little pop quiz for you. 6 players have played 50 or more games for the Raptors. Only 6 have played 50 or more. Can you name those 6 players?
Scotty Barnes.
Scotty is one. He's second on the team with 60 games played. He hasn't played in a month, and he's second on the team in games played.
That's wild. Geez. Gradey Dick?
Gradey Dick is third. He's played 54 games.
Didn't we have this discussion at the beginning? Didn't we do an over-under? Oh, that was to start. Was Gradey Dick going to start more games next season?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's on the way.
He's on the way. Do you want me to just give him off? So
Lifeline.
Gary Trent Jr. leads the team.
Oh, God.
6 games played.
I'm sorry, Gary. Yeah.
Jakob Poeltl is at 5th with 50 games played,
Okay.
despite 2 stretches of prolonged injury.
Yeah.
Chris Boucher is 6th on the team with 50 games played. That surprises me because it feels like he never plays. Number 4 on the team in games played, Dennis Schroeder. Remember him? 51 games played for old Dennis. And then the next highest, the only other guy over 40 is Jalen McDaniels. So yeah,
wow.
grim scene on this. This is going to be just trivia fodder for many, many years to come for me. This basketball reference page. It's very exciting. Quickly on Garrett Temple. Last night, Darko Rajakovic was mic'd up for the broadcast. By the way, love the mic'd up segments when they have the right people mic'd up. Gary Trent Jr. tends to be a little bit boring, just kind of like, let's go, guys. Yeah. But Darko, you always get really good clips from him when he's mic'd up. He's a very animated fellow, and he had a little mic'd up clip before the game talking to Garrett Temple, and was just sort of like singing his praises into his ear. You know, you're just bringing so much intensity and leadership, and we just are so happy to have you. I thought it was a really cool little look into the reason Garrett Temple is on this team. I think there was a lot of sort of head scratching when he was signed in the summer. To me, it's been, is he the best free agent signing of the summer for the Raptors? Possibly. I guess Dennis Schroeder still has a case for that. But Temple, last night coming in again, plays 28 minutes. He's getting some run. You love to see it. He's probably going to walk into a coaching job whenever he decides to walk out of the NBA. But your overall thoughts on Garrett Temple, who just seems like an absolute delight and a real piece of the glue that's been holding the fabric of this team together throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, I was giving a lot of credit to the coaching staff, for being able to keep things together. But I also think that we should really shine a light on what it is that you sign a veteran like Garrett Temple for to have on your team when people don't really understand the role that they play. It is very clear in like keeping morale up, keeping things together, especially when there's been so much uncertainty, and young guys who are kind of looking around and being like, is this what the rest of my career is going to be like? Like, is this normal? Right? Like, it's not a normal first season to have, but like, how could you know that if you don't have experience? There was a really sweet moment last night when they are announcing the starting lineup, and RJ Barrett checked in, and Garrett Temple was kind of at the end of the chute of guys standing. And he just like enfolded RJ like in his arms and like cradled his head and was like saying some, I'm assuming like really beautiful words in his ear. And RJ really just genuinely looked so comforted, and like it was just it was a very nice thing to see. And I've seen him do things like that on the floor, off the floor. And I think that's really important. We've also heard so many guys just say like, I can go to him and talk to him about whatever. So yeah, he's kudos to him. And he was playing some basketball last night.
Yeah. He was playing some basketball. You love to see it. By the way, I think what he whispered into RJ's ear was, "Fear is the mind killer," or "My path leads into the desert." You're just there to talk about Dune 2, I think. Anyway, we don't need to keep on talking about Dune 2. We love Garrett Temple. Bring him back. I mean, we'll do a Dune pod at some point, I'm sure. Locked Dune Raptors.
There you go.
God.
You're doing too much.
I need to be fired. Someone should fire me. We'll come back on the other side, and we will do the good, the bad, and the to round up the show. And so, yeah, stick around. Please don't leave because of my really bad wordplay. It's just so pathetic. Oh, my God. All right, here we go. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Amazon Fire TV. I've said it before. I love myself some Fire TV because it's what my parents used to watch TV, and I never have to troubleshoot with them. They live in the country. I can't go drive 3 hours to help them with their tech. Sometimes their phone doesn't even work because they're out in the country. I need to know that they are going to watch TV and not have to fiddle through all sorts of troubleshooting mechanisms to be able to watch television. No, Fire TV is your destination for sports. From live games to highlights to in-depth analysis, Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick you can plug into your existing TV. Provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV, whether it's opening weekend for baseball, the college basketball tournaments, or you're going to want, or whatever else you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes Locked On. Yes, you can watch Locked On shows on Amazon Fire TV. It's another great place where you can go find my mug. This is, again, a wonderful sales pitch. Go get yourself some Fire TV. Right now, go check them out. It's a perfect place to watch all of the TV, live sports, cooking, anything you could want to watch, entertainment, gaming, travel. It's all there for you. Check out Fire TV channels on a Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit amazon.com/lockedonfiretv. All right, wrapping things up here with Katie Heindl from Dime, from Basketball Feelings. A reminder, Locked On Sports Today 24/7 is your all-day streaming channel. You can check out Locked On shows from the national show side of things, the local shows covering the biggest stories around the sports world. It's all there for you, running 24 hours a day. A wonderful thing to just have on in the background while you work, or to just watch instead of working. Please do it. Locked On Sports Today 24/7. All right, Katie. We've reached it. It's the good. It's the bad. It's the the way we round out every single episode on the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. A thing we liked, a thing we didn't like, and a thing that's got us a wee bit intrigued from the latest in Toronto Raptors basketball. What you got for your good in this game, Katie?
I mean, we already talked about it, but I really liked seeing RJ and Quickley back. I also liked seeing how happy and kind of ready they looked. I think it was Eric Kareen asked in the post game just about, was Darko surprised at all to see that they weren't rusty, that there was nothing to it. And he was like, no, it's something that they love. And it's something that we all understand we're like lucky to be doing and find like pleasure and escape and safety in. And I think that was really palpable and very nice to see.
That's a great one. Mine is also RJ Barrett related. Katie, what was this? Well, we're going to play another round of, I don't think you've played this game before. It's what sound did you make when? What sound did you make when RJ Barrett went coast to coast and dunked through Jackson Hayes and Anthony Davis? I went, oh, kind of like a horse.
That is a real horse sound. I think I was just like, oh, I don't know. I was when you're in the booth with Will and he's just screaming, it's kind of like whatever sound you make is going to be more of a whisper.
That's the better question. What sound did Will make when that happened?
He shouted. I think he just shouted, "Oh my God," and stood up and screamed. Yeah.
On the short list for Raptors Dunk of the Year, I think. It came late in a game where they were losing and maybe not everyone saw it or whatever. I know the Jamias Ramsey windmill is probably the leader in the clubhouse, but that dunk was absolutely nasty in his first game back. And frankly, that garbage time, total dunk fest. Pretty cool stuff back and forth.
It was great for me.
Two-hander, Jackson Hayes through the legs, a couple going back the other way for the Raptors. That was a very dunk-heavy garbage time. Your bone is good here. What was your bad from this game?
What was my bad from this game? I think what we had talked about before we were texting about this before. I don't know how seriously you took me, but it did feel winnable for most of the first quarter, some of the second, because I think the team plays with such like a frenetic energy that is hard to get a handle on. And you could see the Lakers trying to adjust and being like, what is this team? I don't get it. They did in the end. And they also have LeBron. So that's what happened. But the loss, I think, came from just a lot of like technical mistakes. And I get it. Like some of these guys are two ways. Some of these guys have spent more time in the G League than they have in the NBA. And they're not as astute to those like technical observations. But it's not bad because I'm not like, this is going to plague the team. It's just like, it's bad to see.
Yeah. That's a good one. My bad, sort of tied to this. I still don't really have any idea what the Raptors are trying to do on defense. And I know there's only so much you can do in sort of like instilling a defensive philosophy with dudes who are cycled through from the G League being a major part of your roster. But there was one instance last night, or two instances, I guess. One that really kind of stood out. It was like, why are they doing this? Mouhamdou Gueye was guarding Jackson Hayes, and Javon Freeman Liberty was guarding D'Angelo Russell. They run a pick and roll, and they just like switch it, and you have Javon Freeman Liberty trying to box out Jackson Hayes, who instantly gets an offensive rebound off of a D'Angelo Russell miss and puts it back up and in. And it's just like, why are you switching that? Like, there's no need to switch that. It feels like the Raptors just switch indiscriminately right now. Maybe that's just like the guys calling it on the floor. Maybe that's what the coaching staff wants. I don't know, but that's not an idea of how to play defense to me. And I'm still waiting to see exactly what the vision is for the defense. I think obviously it's impossible to have any kind of vision without Jakob Poeltl in there, without Scotty Barnes in there, the two best defensive players on this team, arguably right now. And so we'll see next season. I do think that's sort of, and I've talked about this before, it's like my biggest offseason question for Darko is, what's the plan on defense? We know the offensive plan and we know it works. How is the defense going to take shape? And just a few other instances last night of, oh God, like they just have no clue what they're doing on that end. And, you know, give up 128 points to a not so good offensive Lakers team as a result. What you got for your Katie?
If you want to talk about sounds I made, then my is kind of that. I did make that sound when Mouhamdou Gueye, his nickname, they're announcing him when he comes in as Moji, which at first I was like, it's quite close to OG.
Forcing it a little, yeah.
Yeah. Very close to OG. And I didn't like it at first, but then I have to say it grew on me.
Yeah, they were using it on the broadcast last night too. He had that block and dunk at the other end where they, you know,
that's when it grew on me.
They didn't bust out a Moji, oh my. If they do that, I think it's jumped the shark.
They can't do
as
that.
long as they don't do that, I think we're fine. But that's an interesting nickname trend to watch. Always important at this time of year to keep tabs on.
I think so.
Nickname seeds being planted by the broadcast. My is Gradey Dick getting to the rim a whole lot and sort of what that means for him long term. He had a few missed bunnies at the rim last night, stuff that he's normally hit this season. Just kind of, you know, on a cut, goes up for the layup, misses. He had the almost dunk that he tried to like kind of throw down in the reverse that just sort of hit front rim.
Blocked by the rim.
Yeah, it was a tough look, but the fact that Gradey gets to the rim as often as he does, I think is one of the bigger surprises of his rookie season for me. Per clean the glass, he's getting to the rim 26% of the time. That's where 26% of his shots come from. That's in the upper half of the league already, which is not something I would have penciled in for him this year. And so, you know, pretty encouraged by sort of the variety with which he can score. We know he can step into that mid-range. We know we can get to the rim. Like, there's a 3-level scorer in here somewhere. And we've also seen him finish through contact pretty effectively this season in stretches. I think that's only going to get better as he gets stronger, right? I think he's got all of the sort of dexterity and, you know, freedom of movement to make those sort of contorting finishes around the rim. It's just a matter of getting stronger for them to really start going down. He's only shooting 59% of the rim this season, which is not amazing. It's in the bottom quarter of the league or so. But the fact that he's getting there and getting a lot of just kind of point blank opportunities, to me, pretty exciting stuff for the long-term outlook for one Gradey Dick, who I was glad to see just like taking a lot of shots last night. 14 shots. Love it. Take more, I say. That's going to do it, Katie. Thanks so much for hanging out. As always, do you have anything you want to promote for the good people out there?
I will promote the Basketball Feelings podcast. We hit episode 50, and I had the wonderful Matt Moore on to talk through getting in fights on the internet, getting more comfortable with your public persona. People think Matt is just a 100% curmudgeon who hates basketball, when the reverse is actually true. He's a very thoughtful person who loves basketball deeply.
Of Locked On Nuggets fame, of course, as well.
Of course. Talked about the Nugs a bit, talked about his team, the Grizzlies, talked about really interesting things. He's been around for such a long time. So you can listen to that if you subscribe. Subscriptions are also now only $5 a month.
Wow. That's just they should be selling like hotcakes. That's honestly, I sound like I'm making a joke when I say it because I don't say anything seriously. Basketball Feelings is literally the best writing about basketball on the internet. Everyone should subscribe to it. It will enrich your basketball fandom as it has mine for many, many years. And Katie, we're lucky to have you doing what you do over there. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find me on the Hell site at Woodley Sean. I'm not tweeting much over there anymore. I'm in the Discord, baby. You want to interact with me? I'm there in the Discord, shooting down terrible takes, talking about how much I hate the draft and rookies. I have a brand in there now, baby. So come hang out. We'd love to see you in there. We'll also talk about Dune if you want. And we will be back again tomorrow. The Raptors play again tonight. Raptors Wolves. Sure, that's going to go super well. Anthony Davis or Anthony Edwards, I'm sure will be out looking to dunk on somebody's head, which, that's good for everybody, frankly. So yeah, we'll have that covered on tomorrow's show. In the meantime, subscribe, follow, rate, review, tell a friend, and we'll talk to you again on Thursday for another episode of Locked On Raptors. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye.